Reliance Nippon Life Insurance as the moderator. Welcome, sir. A big round of applause. Khushru M. Mistry, Chief Information Officer and Senior Vice President, Eureka Forbes. Welcome, sir. A big round of applause, please. Najm Bilgrami, National Head, Financial Lines, Tata AIG General Insurance. Welcome, sir. Sunil Kulkarni, Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer, Protean eGov Technologies Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. And I think the next year, probably starting from April 23, would spin a new year for the financial services. The kind of changes that are happening, especially in the insurance sector, is amazing in the sense that lots of relaxations, digitalization, and move towards increased use of cyber technology. And therefore, the role of CISOs would be extremely important. And the whole business would like to fly. I don't know how the CISOs would follow, whether you would fly or you would jump or whether you walk behind. But it's going to be transformative in the sense that you need to anticipate these changes and be ready to have an overall risk assessment and understand the digitalization, digital transformation that's happening in financial services. And how do you cope up with that? But this is about financial services and other sectors also. I see similar trends, increased digitalization, increased use of cyber, increased cyber technology usage, and therefore cyber security even more important than before. It doesn't mean that the cyber security risks have come down, it's gone up intrinsically or from an inherent perspective. Of course, the controls have also gone up. But how do you mitigate the risk? There are new dimensions and new challenges. And then unfolding all this will be the privacy bill that's expected next year. I don't know how long they would give time, 18 months, 24 months to settle. Only time would tell that. And what kind of changes it would bring. I think amazing. If you know Europe or US, you have a problem in cyber security, resilience, you're supposed to disclose that upfront. And if that rule comes here, you don't know what's going to happen to CISOs, CROs like me, who's going to grapple with these risks with the business and address these. So you will have to grapple with a new scorecard, new rank card, and things like that. So exciting times ahead, 3 years or 2 years. And we have experts here in the panel. So first I would address my question to Mr. Mistry. What is your take on 2023 and years ahead? And how do you think we would cope up with the cyber security risks?
Thank you. 2023, let's start with 2022. I think the cybersecurity risks are increasing day by day. They're getting extenuated by hybrid workforce, the velocity, the sophistication, the state, I would say, run cyber attacks are increasing. So 2023, I think, with the 5G coming in, I believe it will see an increase in cybersecurity attacks. Because with 5G, remember 5G, it addresses everything from, I would say, 3G, 4G. And 5G is much faster. It's 100 times faster than 4G. So imagine the disruption happening 100 times faster. The networks will be protected, but I believe the end devices are going to be compromised much more. And therefore, I think that needs to be taken care of. The second thing is hybrid workforce is here to stay, regardless of whether we want to bring them back into the fold. But remember, there's still a very large sales force out on the feet on street. And we have to protect them. And we have to protect them, we have to protect their livelihoods, we have to protect the company. So I think bringing in zero trust networks should be a very, very important part of your strategy for next year. And I believe that's where the expenditure should be done. And of course, EDR and XDRs should be brought in. In fact, I have a whole laundry list, which I've given to my CIO to say that these are the kind of things which we will have to protect. And more so with the tsunami of data coming in. That is one thing which I don't think so. If GDPR could be so stringent, the Data Protection Act in India will also be much more stringent. That's what my beliefs are.
Excellent. So I think you had addressed this 5G issue, the Salesforce protection, and bringing in zero trust. And of course, the EDRs and IDRs and the new stacks that you wouldn't like to add. What's your stake on 2023 and ahead?
So when you look at insurance and even financial industry overall, the growth what we have in India, so specifically like being from insurance industry, if I have to tell you, like the GDP contribution in India coming from insurance is as low as 4%. When you look at the developed country, and I'm taking the average, which is 9%. So we can very clearly look at the kind of market, kind of growth which is available for insurers to grow in India. That is one aspect. And of course, technology is definitely helping insurers. A lot of tools, you can reach out to your customer through mobile, WhatsApp. There are like a lot of other platforms due to this connectivity. Like we will be able to reach out to the customers in small villages and all. So definitely like there's a future, there's very clear path, but at the same time, all these opportunities coming with a threat of cyber exposure. And organizations are exposed to that. So for an organization, it is very important, and especially for the Indian companies, what I look at, there is a greater need to shift the focus. So there's a need to change the culture, in fact. Currently, what I look at, and when I speak to various companies while underwriting the cyber proposal, the cyber security spend is looked at as a cost center. Whereas I personally believe, and data suggests, that it should not be looked at as a cost center. Instead, it should be looked at as a business enabler for the organization. So that is the change which the organizations have to accept and move forward for a profitable growth for each organization. That's my take, sir.
Yeah, we now move on to Mr. Sunil Kulkarni here.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah, so I will add to what Khushru had said. There is a lot of other things which will also add up to 2023's the type of hacking which will improve. So now what we see nowadays is kind of an manual hackers, they're getting into systems, they are hacking into systems, but at later years it will be completely automative. The hackers will be using RPAs, they will be using bots, and many much more advanced technologies to even the AI ML. They will be using those kind of an intelligence and doing those automative hacking. So that is where the next trend is. And as an organization, what we should do is we should always be a step ahead of them. We should have our all intel. We should have our those relevant controls identified, those relevant risks identified, and then then we can have those relevant controls implemented. So that is that is something which we can look at.
Very interesting. I think Mr. Najm suggested about profitability or the ability of the cyber risk management professionals to save money, cost, reputation for the company, correct? And I think I remember even in my risk management, we came up with an analytic review. And when we spend about 50 lakhs of investigation cost additional, we saved about 50 crores straight. And kind of reputation savings that CISO brings about is amazing. I mean, nobody, professes that actually to the board, but we need to. And probably we need to give dollar value and business sense to the board, executive management, so that they're more aligned with you, and when you in your presentations, you give the dollar value, it is so useful. And they get a quick grasp of the issue. And I guess it's going to become that because if, as you said, rightly said, it's going to be more stringent, then what would happen is there will be a lot of fines in the bill and the act. And if there are a lot of fines, then that's what you straight away save, which is 3-4% of the revenue, I believe. So, I mean, that is humongous, especially in a large company. And so you will have to profess that maybe as a savings measure. But of course, this is going to come 3 years down the line or 2 years down the line, depending on how much time the privacy bill gives us. So that brings me to the next question. So, spade of all these, how do you prioritize? What expenditure should be the main one? What would be your attack strategy?
Tech expenditure is here to stay on cybersecurity. It's not going to go away. I think it's even going to become bigger. But I think expenditure on additional facilities of cybersecurity, upskilling of staff on cybersecurity, perhaps will constitute about between 30 and 40%. But I think the main part, the 60%, should be spent on training and change management of the culture of the company. IT security, cybersecurity is not just for the CISOs of the company. It is for everybody. If that is not taken as a change management request, and that's where the money needs to be spent on training. If the culture of the company does not change, okay, companies in India are going to face a significant amount of problems. So I think put your money where you are able to train the people on how to protect themselves. If they protect themselves, they'll be able to protect the family and they'll be able to protect the organization and bring out those factors which will extenuate the fact that cybersecurity is for everybody, it's my risk, so I need to protect that. The more they create that bubble around them, they will create the bubble around the organization for which they work. And I think that's where the money should be spent.
Again, we speak on culture and training people. I think people, process, technology, all the three are important legs of any systems. And therefore, even for cyber systems, you need people. And if passwords are passed away or shared, you know what happens. And so, we'll, in fact, speaking about passwordless organization in the future. Given that kind of changes that are going to come, we really have to take care of culture. And people need to be taught that cyber security is important and it will be business, part of business mission to save data leakage to competitors, also to hackers, and save themselves from ransomware attacks. Yeah, so my next question is to Najm. What do you think we should do from a attack strategy perspective in 2.0, 2.4, 2.3, 2.5? And how do you think we need to spend?
See, when I look at the entire structure, the organizational structure, there are 4 areas which I feel organizations should look at very carefully. And let me prioritize that. One, of course, your employees. Train your employees, because I feel that those are the weak links. You probably spend too much on your technology, you probably spend too much on your processes. But if your employees are not trained, if they are not aware of the exposure, you will still fall in trap and there will be financial loss to the organization. So that's first. Second, of course, like you have to keep on improving your technology. As I mentioned, like it's a journey, it's not a destination. So you have to keep on evolving on this risk. That's my second point. And the processes. In fact, let me tell you, like the data suggests, and we experienced that during pandemic, all the organizations who are having tested business continuity plan, they did extremely well during this pandemic. Organizations who are having only on paper, probably for the regulatory requirements, they face tremendous problems. So processes should be in place, and it should not be only on paper, it should be tested. So that's the third point. And of course, last, coming from the risk management industry, insurance, that if all doesn't work, then you have your insurance protecting you for the losses which you have incurred. So that's my take.
Right. So what do you think should be the attack strategy from the CISO's perspective for 2003-4, and mind you, with privacy challenges coming in?
Correct. I agree with you. So I will just continue, and I will put it in a different manner. So my take is we need to invest in a way that it is 70% of technology and 30% is what we integrate this technology with each other. What I feel to understand is this technologies works in silos, and that is where the major challenge is, because they don't talk to each other. And that is where if 30% of investment is done in order to achieve this kind of an integration, that will achieve this entire the problem of the incident response or incident detection. So that is where again one of the most important parameter as a company which they should focus on is the usability, like how much the particular system is or technology is being used. Like for example, we talk about an SIEM. So SIEM has around 500, 600, 700 rules, but this company requires that 700 rules. So what is the minimum basic requirement for for a particular company to work with an SIEM? So that is what those kind of an analysis has to be done. And for each technology, it's not about SIEM, it's for each, even for firewalls, we talk about IDs, IPAs, we talk about any technology. So all this has to be properly evaluated, and then those relevant controls can be implemented.
So more analysis, more evaluations, change in culture, and way of looking at SIEM. How smart is the SIEM? Maybe evolving SIEM to face the attacks. I think yes, so it is going to be a challenging time ahead. And with the liability going up in terms of the privacy bill, I don't know how the measures would be taken. How do you think we will protect from a responsibility perspective? Say you were in for legal suits against you. I'm just theoretically trying to predict 2024. But because 23, the change would come and then they would give you some time, hopefully. So how do you perceive the overall security challenge ahead in terms of the expenditure you would need to make, and how would you change things to be ready?
With the Data Protection Act coming in, let's be aware that the expenditure levels are definitely going up. Now, for a company like ours, for our European sector, we've gone through GDPR. I believe the white hair in my hair is because of that. And it was onerous. One of the things which we learned, is that collect your data, get your IT infrastructure, cloud security, and cloud people to collate your data into central points of access. And then very vigorously protect that data, mask your data, and ensure, you see, it's no longer adequate that you bring in a control whereby you say protect your password, don't give your passwords. Today, that information is so widely used. You have a tsunami of data coming in from everywhere. Every part of the organization, whether it's HR, or whether it's your customer, or whether it's your retail division, every division is bringing in lots and lots of customer PII data. That needs to be protected at all costs. So it's not just about us being in a water purification, it's all about health and hygiene. It's direct to customer. So we are bringing in data of the customer. We're bringing in data of the families. We're looking at the health, the hygiene. And all of that is going to affect them if we don't protect the data. So I think data protection is going to be a significant portion. Next one, I believe, is also on our cyber security response time. Okay, let's not be fooled by the state that if we are associated with a data leakage, the IN cert is going to penalize you on one side, and the second side, the compliance is going to penalize you. So both sides we're going to pay. So let's be clear. Protect the customer data at all costs. Mask it. Do not allow it to be let loose. And if there is a cybersecurity incident, it's not good enough to call the fire brigade. You have to practice it. You have to preach it and take it down to the organization.
I think excellent. So data leakage protection is something going to be more an increase, and customer data protection and managing the customer behavior, customer change, customer information is going to be key. I think these are the two areas you said. What do you think will go away in the next few years? What will be stacked out and what will be stacked in? You can speak about what's in and then maybe out later.
See, what we have experienced about cyber and probably practically looking from outside, that how organizations are going through this risk, what are the responses which they are making during those cyber incidents. What I feel personally is keep the basics right. Most of the time what we have noticed that things as basic as patches are missing, which is leading to cyber incidents. Things, as I said, like even in the previous discussion, the password, the employees are not careful about their password, sharing password with their colleagues and all. These are the things I have seen practically, even in the insurance industry, this sharing of password led to a financial loss to the company as big as 28 crore. And subsequently, a very senior level employees have been asked to leave. So we probably don't even think of all these outcomes. But this is so significant and so, this can be so dangerous. So keep the basics right. In fact, that works everywhere, and same with the cybersecurity. So that's my view.
Excellent. Yeah. So I think you also stressed about the integration of data and connecting the dots in the previous question. Now, of course, and employee training, of course, most importantly, people and evolving risks. And of course, patch management, I've seen many times it's done later, maybe a month later. By then, everybody is inside the network, most of the hackers. So you have a problem there. And yes, there is going to be increased fines, increased penalties, increased reputation damage because of leakage of data, ransomware attacks. I think every day we read something new, some new organization being hacked, and it's crazy. So if that's the case, and if privacy bill is going to bring in damage as a fine, and there's going to be a regulator for IT, information technology, you're going to have a lot of music to play. I don't know how things would change. Of course, it is for the better because we wouldn't be more prepared because risks are more. Women businesses see to it penalties and reputation damage, they prepare themselves. And I think business persons of today are aware of data leakage and cyber risks. The awareness is much, much more. So I think my next question is to Mr. Kulkarni. How do you think, what will stack in and what will stack out in 23, 24, 25?
Okay, so stack out will be the old version of methodologies, the processes which were used from a cybersecurity point of view. That will go out definitely. What will come in is the more proactive approach. There is no more reactive approach. As everything will be proactive, we have to be one step ahead of the hackers. The second thing is the kind of a response, how quickly we are able to respond to a particular attack is something which is more important. And definitely we'll be having those relevant privacy bill and if you can say the amendments to the IT Act, and those things will come in place at a later stage. But yeah, so basis that we'll be having a more stringent amendments, policies, and the companies will have to follow those things. So a lot of things will be changing from next 2 or 3 years. Processes will be more automative in nature, and that is what I foresee things will go.
Excellent. I think next question, I'll start from that side, so you can take it. What do you think from a personality perspective? What's happening to a CISO, CRO? What's the change you see? I've seen changes at least. I don't know whether you've seen that. And what do you think would happen in the next 4 or 5 years?
Correct. Yeah, so CISOs were earlier were a part of an IT, where they were only working in a particular IT department and managing those relevant IT governance piece. Now the thing has changed. Now they are more business enabler. They are part of a business. They interact very often to the business. They understand the business, comes and discuss those kind of requirements before they get into market, because a lot of such threats are associated to those kind of businesses. So that is where the business enable the CISOs are there, and that is what the changes, like CISOs are involved, and they will be involved going forward. They will be reporting to the dashboards, to the CEOs, to the boardroom, and that the visibility has changed from last COVID to now. The change has lot.
Great. More use of analytics, I guess, and presentation to the board also, quarterly. I think these are the changes. You want to highlight something else?
Yeah, so what Sunil said, and that is one of the area which we look at while reviewing the risk before we give an insurance cover to them, is how the structure of the organization is. Is the CISO or CTOs are independently reporting to the board, or there are function which is probably under finance or some other function, wherein they don't have independence. So very valid point that the independence of this particular function is very important for the organizations to grow and understand this exposure. And as I said, this is business enabler. It's not a cost center. The other thing which I would like to highlight is the organization should learn from mistakes probably somebody else has done. They should not be waiting for them to get hacked or them to get breached. The group, you should have those groups created. You should have those teams created wherein the CISOs sharing their experiences, and just not limited to the country, even outside world, wherein what is happening in Europe. Because what we see normally, the trend which is in US right now, probably 6 months down the line, it will get followed in India. So if you are well aware of all this exposure, I think you'll be better prepared to handle that. And let me tell you how insurers are doing this role. So now insurers, including us, what we have is our own cybersecurity teams, and yearly with our clients, we come up with those discussions with our cyber risk consultants, wherein they share their own experience, because we are seeing a lot of claims from various geographies, and we will be able to share those experience wherein probably the service account is getting targeted suddenly. There are multi-factor authentications become very important. So those are the experience which we have started sharing, and I think it's the need of the hour, and every organization should look at collaborating so that we can fight this menace as a whole, as a team.
Yeah, excellent. So I think the more evolving story is about trends, dashboards, analytics, sharing of upsides, sharing of downsides, global experiences, and learning from them, especially lessons learned. It's very important that you have lessons learned from all this and implemented before you get it. As you rightly said, anything that's happening in the US is going to hit us 6 months later here. And we're seeing that already. India has emerged as the most attacked country, and we are in the top 5 or top 3. So if that's the case, it's nightmarish when you have a liability in terms of a Privacy Act, and when you are hit with suits and fines and penalties by the IT regulator. So I think I'll leave it to you for the last words. What do you think would change for a CISO, and what are the additional facts you could add?
A CISO, as you said, is no longer a cost center. Of course, if they don't do their job correctly, there's definitely going to be a hit to the bottom line and EBITDA levels. All right. But a CISO in the added is an enabler, okay, has got to be part of the core leadership team. They are part of the top line dexterity of the company. But a CISO's role has got to be, rather than talking in bits and bytes, they have to start talking business. Right now, we do realize that sometimes when a CISO comes into the boardroom and talks about XDR and EDR, you can immediately see the board looking at everybody else and saying, what the hell is he talking about, or she is talking about. So I think they need to be enablers of the business. They have to learn to talk the business level. They have to not scare people. I do understand that CISOs come in maybe once a year into the boardroom and do something called a war game. And they hack the daylights about somebody whose mobile phone and guess what, everybody gets scared. But that's just for a momentary period of time. I think it's the continuous information, talking business, talking the business language, and in elaborating the risk and security measures is what the role of the CISO is tomorrow, and it's going to grow. Because ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if a company of tomorrow chooses the CEO as a CISO who has been a previous CISO.
Absolutely emphatic, and really things have changed, and I think even the business language is changing slowly of CISOs in the board. They're making it more business-centric in their presentations. But yes, things would change even more drastically once the new changes, the digital transformation, and the regulatory challenges unfold. When the IT regulator also comes into play in the next 2 to 3 years. These are all bound to happen. There are so many global pressures, and therefore you would see all this unfolding the next 3 to 4 years or 5 years. With that, I thought I would end to an excellent panel of experts here for adding value, and if any of you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Otherwise, we would wind up the panel here. Any questions? Things are crystal clear, so great. Thank you so much to the panel. Wonderful.
Thank you, everyone. I would now request Dr. Ravi Gupta, CEO and founder of Elets Technomedia, to please join us at the stage and present the mementos. A big round of applause, everyone. S.V. Sundar Krishnan, Chief Risk Officer, Reliance Nippon Life Insurance. Congratulations, sir. A big round of applause, everyone, please. Khushru M. Mistry, Chief Information Officer and Senior Vice President, Eureka Forbes. Congratulations, sir. Najm Bilgrami, National Head Financial Lines, Tata AIG General Insurance. Thank you, sir. Sunil Kulkarni, Vice President and Chief Information Security Officer, Protean, eGov Technologies Limited. Thank you, sir. I request a group photograph with the mementos, please.